Smoke weed every day.
And it's brought to you by ESPN on EA Sports. I'm your host, Jalen Rose. The Orlando Magic have the odds in their favor in this matchup against the Sacramento Kings. Today's call is provided by none other than Mike Breen and Jeff Van Gundy.
Welcome to the Sleep Train Arena in Sacramento, California. It's an NBA Saturday night on ESPN as we get set for the first of two meetings this season.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94 with another NBA Live 15, my career gameplay. And today we are taking on the Sacramento Kings. We're taking on my boy Rudy Gay and Boogie Cub. And apparently they got Julius Randle. And that does not look like Rudy Gay. That looks terrible. That looked terrible. That's a terrible Rudy Gay. But anyways, though, fuck that Rudy Gay. We're going to get into this game. So, yeah. Sacramento Kings. They balling. You know what I'm saying? Eh? You know what I'm saying? They're going to be balling. You know what I'm saying? You know, for me, and what I think about the Sacramento Kings, I feel like it's weird because they got rid of Isaiah Thomas and they're doing 10 times better than what they were doing with him on the squad. It's crazy, right? Like, DeMarcus Cousins is balling. I think that says a lot about Darren Collison. Like, maybe he's not really a backup point guard. Like, maybe Darren Collison is a starting point guard. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. He had to take over for Chris Paul of all point guards. Chris Paul, think about it. He had to take over for him twice. Once as a rookie, he as a rookie on the New Orleans Hornets. That was ass that year. Chris Paul went out. He had to take over, and he was just balling. And then you look at last year with the Clippers. I think he's very underrated and very undervalued by a lot of teams. I don't think teams fit his formula and let him just. I think the key thing to Darren Collison is just let Darren Collison be Darren Collison. Don't try to put him in a system where it doesn't work. That's why I don't think things worked out with him in Indiana and plenty of other places. I think the best thing to do with Darren Collison is let Darren Collison be Darren Collison. Because he's great if you don't put him under a system. You just let him play freely. He plays amazing. But when you put him in a system, it's like you can't do everything that you want to do. Because you're restricting him. So, you know, hey. What works best for him works best for him. And he's balling right now under this free-flowing offense that with the Sacramento Kings. I think the Sacramento Kings were my 8th seed team, but now I'm going to put them in 6th seed. I think they're going to finish 6th in the West. I think they're going to finish 6th in the West. Look at that crazy and one right there. I think they're going to finish 6th in the West. I don't think they're going to finish 8th. I think they're going to finish 6th because with the way how the West is right now, all these young teams on the rise, eventually the teams like the Spurs and the Mavericks, they'll eventually pop up out of nowhere and end up like taking over the West. So that could mean that could make it like a little more easier for the Sacramento Kings to come up because they'll still be a young, fresh and good team. Do I think they need to make some moves? I say make a couple of moves for the bench. I think you need a little bit more. I think they need one more offensive power to come off the bench. They got a nice, decent bench, but I think they need some more offensive power off that bench to take them further. That's just me. Otherwise, I think this team is good. This team is looking good for the playoffs. Boogie is balling. Rudy Gay is balling. Like I said, Collison, he's balling. When you just let Collison be Collison, he can be very dangerous. Raymond Sessions, yes, he's balling. Ben McLemore, he's balling as well. This can be a very good team for the rest of this. This can be a very good team for the rest of the season. I think if they can maintain the level of play that they're playing at right now through January and February, because like I said, January and February is like the time where you gotta turn up. Because if you don't turn up, you're gonna be in a bad position. So I think the best thing for them to do is to just keep it where you are. Don't try to make yourself the top seed in the West, because I think that's how a lot of teams like fall off in midway through the season. It's because when they're at the top early in the season, that's the main reason why you're at the top, because it's early in the season. Like everybody, you gotta think about it. The Spurs have been to the finals twice, so they've played full, long, length type seasons. You know what I'm saying? So of course, at the beginning of the season, the Spurs aren't going to start off hot, but as the season goes on, the bodies are just going to warm up, and they're going to eventually get into that mode where they're just going to come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like, we didn't notice this in the beginning. Of course, because they were fucking gassed in the beginning, but they just fucking sucked it up and took it in. That's what happens with a lot of teams that go to the finals and then come back the next year. They don't start off hot. They start off very slow because they're still sluggish, but then they just adjust, suck it up, and just start balling midway. Start balling for the rest of the season. So of course, a team like the Spurs are not going to. It's not going to, be top. Gonna be like top 3, top 2 teams in their conference at the beginning of the season. It takes time, so yeah, let them. Plus they're old too, so you gotta really it's gonna take a while. You know what I'm saying? Get them back into it. Cause like I said, last year they was just motivated. That's all it was. Now they're not motivated anymore, and I don't trust the Spurs after they win a championship anyway. So they gonna have a good season. It's just it is just, who gonna knock them out in the playoffs? That's all I'm looking for. Who's gonna knock them out in the playoffs? Because somebody's gonna knock them out in the playoffs. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think if the Sacramento Kings can just stay in their lane, which is just play for that top, just play for those 5, just play for 5 through 8. That's all I'm gonna say. Just play for 5 through 8. If you play for 5 through 8 and not try and be at the top of the Western Conference, there might be a good chance you might end up at the top of the Western Conference, just as long as you're not aiming for it. Don't aim for it. Just play to your game. Don't try to take it up a notch each game unless you have to. If you have to take it up a notch, take it up a notch. But other than that, you don't really have to take it up a notch. So yeah, Sacramento Kings are balling. Boogie is balling. Rudy Gay is balling. I'm kind of upset because Boogie never got a Most Improved Player of the Year award. He should have got Most Improved at least once. I understand giving it to a guy like Paul George, or who else got Most Improved? I forgot who got Most Improved last year. Who was it? I totally forgot who won it, but whoever got Most Improved, they didn't deserve it last year. I think it was Gordon Dragic, wasn't it, for Most Improved? He was good, but he didn't deserve it. I think it should have went to Boogie, because Boogie deserved at least one Most Improved Player of the Year award. This dude has been balling out of his mind. Last season he got snubbed for All-Star, and instead they put Anthony Davis in. I can understand them putting Anthony Davis in, but I still feel like Boogie, I don't know. I'm a Kentucky fan. I like Kentucky. I like Duke. I think Kentucky does the best recruiting because because every player they make goes to because every player they get goes to the NBA and just becomes a straight up star. You gotta think about it. John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, Boogie Cousins, Anthony Davis. It's a good chance Julius Randle might be a star in this league. It's just very unfortunate how he got how out early he got injured. So yeah.
Opportunity off the offensive rebound. And
Other than that, I think
double team blocked
I
by
think
Gay.
Didn't get off to a good start defensively in the first half as far as block shots. But
other than that, I think Kentucky just makes some of the best players, and I think Boogie should have just been most improved player of the year. That's me. I understood the 1 year Paul George got it. I can definitely understand that 1 year, but DeMarcus Cousins been deserved most improved player of the year, in my personal opinion. That's just me.
With a hand up to alter that shot.
I mean, he went from 18 points, 19 points, then jumped up to 22 by his third year. Fourth year, averaging around 24 points, close to, almost damn near fucked around and got 25. And this year I think this year he's around 25, 26, I believe. He's around 26, 25, or 24. I don't know. I gotta look that up. But either way, he's still putting up big numbers. And like I said in that video I made about is Dwight Howard still the best big man in the league. Like I said, at the end of the season, we will find out if Boogie, Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, whoever out there balling right now, we'll see who's the best at the end of the season. If Dwight's still putting up good numbers and still playing like a defensive player, like he should still be in the running for defensive player of the year. I'm gonna have to throw Marc Gasol in there too. I'm gonna have to throw him in there too because he's always been balling. Very underrated, Marc Gasol. He's definitely in the conversation now.
Nice inside pass. Allison on the drive.
It's a lot of guys I could throw into the conversation now. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. We win this game. We blow out the Sacramento Kings, and I'm gonna let Jalen Rose take over for the highlights and the stats, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Thanks for watching and good night.
Hey everyone, it's Jalen Rose, and it's time for the EA Sports post-game wrap-up. The Magic put together a nice win here today. It was quite a display from long range, and I can't imagine the opposing coach was very happy with how it turned out for them. What you see here is how the majority of the points were scored for the Orlando Magic. The Kings didn't lose big, but it wasn't exactly close either. And even though some of them smiled and shook hands with the other guys after the game, you could tell by the way they headed to the tunnels how disappointed they were about this loss. Check out the leading scores for the Sacramento Kings.
Game track. Steals.
As you can see in the highlights, this team did a great job of staying competitive and putting in the necessary effort to get the win. And here we have a look at the game stats.
Player of the game.
And what we have here are highlights worth 1,000 words. There's no question he stood out amongst the rest in today's matchup. And for the stat geeks, here's a look at his numbers. These are the top plays of the game.
Number 3. Number 2. Number 1.
Here's a look at the scores from around the league. Check out the upcoming games. And that does it for our post-game wrap-up. On behalf of ESPN on EA Sports, I'm Jalen Rose. Thanks for joining us.